Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivaranam Chaturbhujam Prasannapadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Sarva Lokanam Vishaje Bhavaroginam Hitaye Sarva Vidyanam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Apara Karuna Sindhum Jnanadam Shantarupinam Shri Chandrasekhara Gurum Pranamami Mudanvaham परित्यज्य मौनं वटादस्थितिं च व्रजन् भारतस्य प्रदेशात् प्रदेशं मधुस्यन्ति वाचा जनान् धर्ममार्गेण यन् श्रीजयेन्द्रो गुरुर्भाति चित्ते नमामः शङ्करान् वाक्यविजयेन्द्र सरस्वतीं श्रीगुरुं दिष्टमार्गानुनेतारं सन्मतिप्रदं सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्. So in chapter 2 called as Sankhya Yoga, Krishna is explaining about the features of Sthita Prajna. Arjuna has asked this question, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhihi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. That was the question asked by Arjuna. Who is Sthita Prajna? How does he conduct himself? Is the question. And for that, Krishna has started answering that question about Sthita Prajna. And Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada in his Bhashya says, these are the sadhya vastus of a Sthita Prajna, of a Mukta Purusha. And these are simultaneously the sadhanam for all the mumukshus, for all the jignasus. These have been attained by the Sthita Prajna who is Mukta. And these are the goals of learners of Vedanta like us. And Krishna says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatane atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochate dukkeshvanudvignamanaha sukeshu vigataspragaha vitaraga bhayakrodaha sthitadihi muniruchyate yassarvatran abhisnehastat tattat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandanti nadveshti tasya prajna pratisthita यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव चेत् सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्ज्यं रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते. So I think with this we talked in the last class. यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः இந்திரியாணீந்திரியார்த்தேபியः தஸ்ய பிரஜா பிரதிஷ்டிதா. உருமையுள் ஆமையில் ஐந்தடக்கலாற்றின் எழுமையும் ஏமாப்புடைத்து says திருவள்ளுவர் in his திருக்குறள். Just like how a tortoise will withdraw all of its 5 limbs at the time of a problem, in the same way we have to withdraw from our senses. In the case of tortoise, the withdrawal is a physical one. The tortoise physically can withdraw all of its 5 limbs onto its shell. But in the case of ourselves, we cannot turn eyes backwards. We cannot turn ears backwards. We cannot turn the skin backwards. So in our case, it is a notional withdrawal. Previously, we thought I derive pleasure from these 5 senses. The senses that Krishna is talking about are the sense organs. I derive pleasure from seeing. I derive pleasure from hearing. I derive pleasure from smelling. I derive pleasure from being touched. I derive pleasure from eating something. These are the 5 sources of our pleasures, we think. And these are not only the sources of pleasures, These are also the sources of pain. If I don't want to see something, if I get to see that, I will not have pleasure. I will be sad. If I don't want a particular feeling, but if I feel that through my skin, I will not experience pleasure. I will experience pain. If I don't want to smell something, but if I smell something very, very bad, I will not derive pleasure from my nose. I will have pain through my nose. So the same organs who are the causes for all the pleasure, the same organ is going to be the source for all the pain that we are experiencing, that we experience. So Krishna says, shut off these organs. You are neither going to get pleasure from these organs, you are not going to be pained through these organs, because pleasure and pain, they are only states of mind. These organs have nothing to do with providing pleasure or providing pain. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasa varjyam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. For that person who go back behind the senses, the person who is going behind these senses, he will always be dependent on these senses. But for that person who does not feed the senses, who does not care about the senses will come behind him. எனக்கே இருக்கு, ஏசி இருந்தாதான் எனக்கு வேர்க்காம இருக்கும், ஏசி இருந்தால்தான் ஐ வில் கெயின் லாட்ஸ் ஆஃப் பிளஷர் அப்படின்னு நினைச்சோம்னா, you will never be accustomed to non-AC condition. What is the problem with not gaining accustomed to non-AC condition? The moment current goes away, we will start swearing. So we have to train our body. We have to train our body to listen what we say, and it should not be the other ways. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. So aharam means food. Normally we think about food as what we eat. That is food. That is food for our mouth. But Krishna talks about food for our eyes. What is the food for our eyes? Those things that we see are the food for our eyes. Those things that we hear, that we listen to, are the food for our ears. Those things that we smell are the food for our nose. Those things that touch us are food for our skin. So Krishna talks about food in the terms of bigger picture. So we have to shut off. And when we shut off, it should not be a forceful shut off. It should be a voluntary shut off. If a person observes Ekadashi Vratam, he will not have on by himself, he will not have any problem. But if the same person observes Ekadashi Vratam because somebody forces it on him, he will have talasuttal, he will have vandi, he will have mayakam, whatever the symptoms that is there in taxonomy book or there is there in physiology book, he will have all those symptoms because it is something that is forced on to him. But if he observes Ekadashi Vratam by himself, he will not have all these symptoms. And what Krishna says is, hey, do not let anybody force anything on you. You have to reason out why these sense pleasures are only fleeting experiences, why pleasure and pain are subjective and not objective, and then start working on yourself. So it has to come from within. If somebody breaks an egg from outside, no good thing will come out of it. But if the egg gets broken from inside because of the chicken, you will have a new life. In the same way, if somebody forces anything onto you externally, it is not going to be productive. It's going to be counterproductive. But you yourself are the reason for your change. It is going to be highly productive. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha Rasa varjyam. So, why it should come from within? Why it should not come from outside? Because you will have the longing for that pleasure. If somebody forces something on you, you may probably not do that thing, but you will have a longing to do that thing. If somebody forces you to observe Ekadashi Vratam, you will not eat because you will not have any food. But what will be the problem? The problem is you will need food. You will want to eat food. You open YouTube, thousands of recipe videos will come. You will be like that monkey who observed Ekadashi Vratam. There is a shloka, there is a story about a monkey observing Ekadashi Vratam. Apparently, a person told monkey, hey, monkey, you have got this monkey birth. If you want to escape from this monkey birth, you have to observe Ekadashi Vratam. The monkey said, okay, how will I observe Ekadashi? So he said, okay, yeah, you should not eat from this time to this time. Monkey said, okay, I will start observing Ekadashi Vratam. So there is no food for monkey. This monkey is sitting in one place along with a timepiece. Every 5 minutes, it will look at that timepiece. Okay, when will that time come so that I can do Parana? When will that time come so that I can do Parana? What is the use of that Ekadashi Vratam? The monkey is not eating through one sense, but with all the other 4 senses, it is always reminded of eating. It is always reminded of that food. So there is no use. Rasa varjyam. That is why it should come from within. Rasa varjyam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Once you see the bigger picture, once you see that, why I am doing all these things, it is for getting to own that infinite source of pleasure, peace, security, peace and happiness. Even that longing go away. Param drishtva nivartate. What nivartate? Rasam nivartate. The longing, the attachment towards the sense pleasure goes away. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramachini haranti prasabham manaha. Because, hey Arjuna, your sense organs are more powerful than your mind. Your sense organs are more powerful than your mind. Yatataha apihi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha. Even if you try very, very hard, yataha, that is why they are called as yatis. Sannyasis are called as yatis because they try. Yatataha hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschitaha indriyani pramachini haranti. Because all these senses will steal your mind. All these senses will steal your mind. In Akshara Manamalai, Ramana Maharshi asks, Aimbula Kalvar Ahatinil Puhumbo Dahatil Ninayo Arunachala. Hey Arunachala, all these 5 senses are like big thieves. Aimpula Kalvar Ahatinil Puhumbo Dahatil Ni Ilayo Arunachala. And then he says, Uruvanamunai Olitevar Varuvar Sude Idu Arunachala. Hey Arunachala, you are the only person, Advaita. You are the only person. Only because of your Maya, I feel like I have all these sense organs. So there is no external party to come and steal my mind. It is all your play, says Brahmana Maharshi in his Akshara Manamalai. What to be noticed is Aimbula Kalvar Ahatinil Puhumbodu. Kalvarnu சொல்றார், திருடன்னு சொல்றார். ஹர அப்படின்னாலும் திருடுறதுன்னு அர்த்தம். அபகரிக்கிறது அப்படிங்கிறோம். பரிகிரகம் எடுத்துக்கிறது, அபகரிக்கிறது, ஃபோர்ஸ்ஃபுல்லா எடுத்துக்கிறது. அதான் இந்த சொல்றார், இந்திரியாணி பிரமாச்சீனி ஹரந்தி பிரசபம் மனஹா. All these sense organs will forcefully take your mind from yourself. So it has to be very, 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 very carefully and actively practiced. What is to be actively practiced? The turning off your sense organs to inwards. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. That person who is endowed with these discrimination, that person who is endowed with the discrimination, tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha, that person who controls all his senses, yukta asita matparaha, tani sarvani sanyamya, the person who controls all of his senses with discrimination. He should not control his senses because of the absence of sense pleasures. The sense pleasures will always be there, but he does not indulge in them at least mentally. For that person who yukta asita matparaha, a person who always contemplates on Krishna, a person who always contemplates on, here Krishna means Atma Swarupam. A person who always contemplates on Krishna, the Atma Swarupam. For that person, Tasya Prajna Pratisthita, his knowledge will be well established. Tasya Prajna. Because we all listen to Vedanta, we all will listen to Bhagavad Gita. But the problem will come when we want to put that in practice. We know theoretically Aham Brahmasmi. We know theoretically the doshas of all the anatma vastus. What are the doshas of all the anatma vastus? Dukkha mishritatvam, atriptikaratvam, bandhakatvam. I can give 10 number of examples, 100 number of examples, one involving gulab jamun, one involving Tesla car, one involving iPhone. But the moment I take a gulab jamun in my hand, all these three doshas will fly away. The moment I want to buy a Tesla car, all these three doshas will vanish from my mind. The moment I put my hand on cell phone, all these three doshas will go away from my mind. Dukkha Mishritattvamna என்னன்னு கேட்பேன், அதிருப்திகரத்துவம்னா என்னன்னு கேட்பேன், பந்தகத்துவம்னா என்னன்னு கேட்பேன். Why? Because even though I have a theoretical knowledge, because I yield to my senses, that knowledge is not well established. So Swami Paramarthananda gives this example of coffee. A person will have a coffee in front of him without sugar. He has added sugar in the cup. But unless he stirs the sugar will not go to all the places in the coffee. The sugar will be crystallized, will be only in the bottom of that coffee. If he added the sugar is like that knowledge. We are the coffee cup. So we have added the knowledge, theoretical knowledge, but the knowledge has not pervaded into our mind. So it is like the unstirred sugar in a coffee cup, which is of no use. Sugar தான் waste. Bhagavad Gita class attend பண்றதுக்கு ஒரு படத்தை பார்த்தா சந்தோஷமாவது இருக்கும். நமக்கு அதுவும் எடுத்து இதுவும் எடுத்து ரெண்டும் கட்டானா உட்கார்ந்துட்டு இருப்போம். That is why Krishna says, hey, you should not yield to your senses. Okay. How can I stop yielding to my senses? Big question. Because all these things are easy to talk. How to put it in practice? You know, in science, we will have this carbon cycle, water cycle, etc. Krishna is going to talk about some other cycle, a very, 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 very interesting cycle. What he talks, we will see. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhramaha Smriti Bhramshat Buddhinashaha Buddhinashat Pranashyati. So Krishna, these two are very, 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 very important shlokas in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is talking about how do the cycle of karma come about. I have an iPhone. Let us take iPhone as an example. I have an iPhone. I am watching some other video in YouTube. What will this Apple person do? This Apple person will give advertisement for his iPhone in the YouTube video. I will be watching some Narayaniyam or even Bhagavad Gita discourse. And in the middle of the discourse, I have an iPhone advertisement. What will happen? இது வரைக்கும் படிச்சதெல்லாம் பேடுத்து I belong to Apple ecosystem, so I keep on thinking about having an iPhone. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. I keep on thinking about having an iPhone. ஐபோன் இருந்தா அது பண்ணலாம், ஐபோன் இருந்தா இது பண்ணலாம், ஐபோன் இருந்தா அப்படி போட்டோ எடுக்கலாம், ஐபோன் இருந்தா இப்படி போட்டோ எடுத்து இன்ஸ்டாகிராம்ல போடலாம். I keep on thinking about iPhone. The first step is dhyanam. Second, sangasteshu pajayate. So I keep on thinking about that entity. Slowly, I will have an affinity towards that entity. This is the psychology that all the marketing people will do. Go in car, you will see iPhone advertisement. You watch any YouTube video, you will have iPhone advertisement. You open a newspaper, you will have iPhone advertisement. You go to some places, there will be people with iPhone. So he will never let us forget the iPhone. Right? Dhyanam. And what will happen because of that? I will have an affinity towards iPhone. இது எங்க பார்த்தாலும் பார்த்துட்டே இருக்கேனே, sublingual messaging ba. You பார்த்துட்டே இருக்கேனே, what will happen if I have this? Sangasteshu pajayate. And that sangam, what will happen? That attachment, sangat sanjayate kamaha. I really love my iPhone. I have a desire to buy that iPhone. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Kamaha means desire. So because of my longing, because of my attachment, because of my key constant meditation upon the iPhone, I want to buy that iPhone. I desire for that iPhone. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. But what will happen? I don't have money to buy iPhone. I have to ask somebody to get permission for buying an iPhone. Or that money, I have some money, I want to, there is some other productive use for that money. So people will say, okay, do not buy that iPhone currently. Your spouse, your parents, or your kids are saying, hey, this iPhone is going to be waste of money, so don't buy. What will happen? Sangat sanjayate kamaha. Kamat krodho bhijayate. All our desire will turn into anger. Kama and krodha will come together. Kama is our desire. The person who stands in between you and your desired object will be the resultant of our krodha, will be the recipient of our krodha. So kama krodha. Kamat krodho bhijayate. What will happen? So at that time, he goes to the point of no return. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha. And I have anger, I will have moha, I will have delusion. I don't know what to do. கோவத்துல கண்ணு மண்ணு தெரியாம பண்ணிட்டோம்பா. ரொம்ப கோவம் வந்துடுத்து, என்ன பண்றதுன்னே தெரியல, பண்ணிட்டேன்பா. That is what is called as mohaha, delusion. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibramaha. என்ன சொல்றோம்? எனக்கு கோவம் வந்துடுத்து, என்ன பண்றதுன்னே தெரியல. You will be a well-read person. You will have read all Dharma Shastra, Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita. But at that time of Krodha, you will forget everything. Smriti Vibramaha. Vibramahana Marandupet. You will forget everything. Smriti Bramshad Buddhi Nashaha. If you forget your ethics, what will happen? Buddhi Nashaha. Krishna says, what is the use of that person living? Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. You are as equivalent as a dead person. All these come because of that simple dhyana of that Vishaya. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Bhijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammohaha Sammohat Smriti Vibramaha Smriti Bramshat Buddhinashaha Buddhinashat Pranashyati. This is the great cycle. And because of Buddhinashaha, you will again have Kama. You will again have Dhyan. So this is the great cycle that gets repeated upon itself, which we have to avoid if you want to be a Sthita Prajna. More about this we will see in the next step. So we have seen up to Shloka number 63. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.